I still hear them at night, footsteps pacing the empty rooms, voices whispering things I can never unhear. I never believed in ghosts. I always thought haunted towns were just old legends to keep tourists coming back. That was before I spent a weekend alone in Garnet, Montana. I had been traveling across the American West, exploring abandoned places for my photography project. Garnet was next on my list, an old gold mining town tucked away high in the Garnet Range about 6,000 feet above sea level. They called it one of the best preserved ghost towns in Montana. When I arrived, the sun was dipping behind the pines, casting shadows over the dirt road that wound up the mountain. There was no cell signal, just quiet, and that eerie hum of pine needles rustling under a fading sky. The cabins and wooden storefronts lined the main dirt street, windows black and empty like watchful eyes. I parked near the old Wells Hotel and grabbed my camera bag, telling myself I'd just walk around for an hour before heading back to Missoula. But something about the way the wind blew down that silent street kept me rooted there. I walked past the old saloon. Its porch steps sagged under my weight. Inside, the bar counter was still there, cracked and dusty, with broken glass scattered across the floor. My boots crunched over it. In the corner stood an upright piano, keys yellowed and warped from decades of cold mountain winters. When I pressed one, the note rang out dull and broken. But in that empty saloon, it sounded like a scream. I exhaled, shaking off the chill crawling up my arms. I kept telling myself it was just the cold mountain air, the isolation, the silence pressing in on my ears. But as I turned to leave, I heard something that stopped me mid-step. Footsteps. Light and slow, coming from upstairs. One step, then another, then pause. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard it felt like it would burst through my jacket. I held my breath and listened. The saloon's second floor was closed off, stairs blocked by collapsed beams and rotten boards. There was no way anyone could be up there. But the footsteps continued, pacing slowly back and forth, each step creaking on old wooden planks. I could almost feel the floor bending under invisible weight. I wanted to run, but something made me stay. I don't know if it was fear or curiosity. I raised my camera to take a photo of the ceiling beams. Just as I clicked the shutter, the footsteps stopped. Silence fell heavy around me. My ears rang. I backed away slowly out onto the porch, down the steps and into the street. I could have left then. I should have left. But I kept telling myself it was the old wood settling. That's what skeptics say, right? The wood settles, the wind blows through cracks, animals scurry behind walls. Logical explanations to keep us sane. I walked further down the street to the general store. The door was off its hinges, leaning against the frame. Inside, shelves were still lined with broken bottles, rusted cans, shattered jars. I turned on my flashlight and swept it across the room. That's when I heard the voices. Faint at first, like distant radio static. A woman's soft laugh, a man's low murmur in reply. I spun around, but the store was empty except for my own reflection in the glass counter. The voices grew louder, echoing in the stale air, overlapping each other in fragments. Did you hear the bell ring? Brought home 3 ounces today. Don't go near the mine tonight. The voices sounded old, like warped recordings from a time before mine. My chest tightened with panic. I stumbled back out onto the street, gasping in the cold night air. The sun had fully set now, and Garnet was swallowed by darkness. No street lights. No houses lit up in the distance. Just the black silhouette of pines and the dim white glow of my flashlight beam shaking in my trembling hand. I told myself I'd take one last photo before leaving. The Wells Hotel loomed ahead, tall and skeletal against the stars. I crossed the street and climbed its front steps. The door creaked open with the faintest touch. Inside, moonlight filtered through the broken windows, illuminating peeling wallpaper and rotted floorboards. I stepped carefully over collapsed boards, moving toward the front desk. The guest registry still sat there, open to a yellowed page from 1912. My flashlight flickered, and for a split second I thought I saw movement behind the front desk. A shadow. Not just flickering darkness, but the distinct shape of a tall man standing very still. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. The shadow didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Then it slowly slid across the wall and disappeared through the doorway into the lobby. I should have left then, but I followed it. The lobby was empty. The floors moaned under my boots. I scanned every corner with my shaking flashlight. That's when I felt it, a sudden rush of cold air against my face, like someone exhaling inches from my skin. My eyes watered from the icy sting. I turned, but there was nothing there. I backed away toward the front door, heart pounding so loud it filled my ears. As I reached the threshold, I heard a voice whisper right behind me, so close it tickled my neck. Don't go upstairs. I bolted into the street, gasping. The air outside felt thin and frigid. My flashlight beam darted across the dark cabins, the silent street, the looming trees. I ran to my car, fumbling with the keys, every second feeling like an eternity under those watchful black windows. When I finally got the engine started, I refused to look back at the hotel. I drove down the narrow dirt road at reckless speed, branches scraping the side of my car, gravel spitting out from under the tires. My eyes burned with tears, partly from fear, partly from the bitter wind blowing through the broken window. It wasn't until I reached the highway miles away from Garnet that I pulled over to catch my breath. My whole body was shaking uncontrollably. My camera bag sat on the passenger seat. I grabbed it, hoping to ground myself with the logic of photos, proof that I had only imagined it all. When I scrolled through the pictures, most were dark and grainy. But then I came to the photo I had taken in the saloon, the one of the ceiling beams. My stomach twisted into a cold knot. In the top corner of the frame, partially hidden in shadow, was the outline of a woman's face. Her eyes were wide and empty. Her mouth was open in a silent scream. Her hair fell across her face like thin strands of rotted moss. I dropped the camera onto the floorboard and covered my mouth to keep from screaming. Even now, I wish I hadn't looked at that photo. Because every night since Garnet, I've heard them in my dreams, the footsteps pacing upstairs, the whispers echoing down silent hallways. And sometimes, just before I wake up, I hear her voice right in my ear, so close I can feel the cold of her breath as she whispers the same words over and over. Don't go upstairs. But each time I hear it, I feel myself standing again at the foot of that rotting staircase, drawn to whatever waits in the darkness above. I don't know what's worse, the thought that I imagined it all, or the thought that next time I won't resist the urge to go upstairs.